for everything He's been revealing. And then while I was in Africa, when I came back to Kenya, after deciding I'm not going to follow the American or the music industry, I came back to Kenya, and after a bit of time, I met my wife, Erica, and that's how I set up. Yeah, so I'm glad. So had I not chosen, to follow after Christ, I never would have met my wife. I never would have. So many things never would have happened. So that decision is Christ leads to a life. So, and it is a person. So yeah.
Yes, my name is Erica Mukisa Kimani. I'm getting used to the third name. Yeah, so I'm going to continue in a testimony of how God delivered me from the powers of darkness. I grew up in a family, but my grandmother was a high-level sorcerer, so she initiated me at a tender age, and by 8, I was a high-level sorcerer. I was controlling principalities. I was dealing with principalities. And when I was 18, that's when I got delivered. And from the time I got delivered, I decided to use my experience to help other people. Yeah, so I began to interact with angels when I was young, but on the other kingdom, in the kingdom of darkness, I was serving Satan. And, the first time my grandmother initiated me, I was 8, and that was the time I met with angels for the first time. That's the time I met with the angel of death. And when I met with the angel of death, you see, life is spiritual. The only reason as to why people don't see spiritual things because they are blind. They are spiritually blind. But if God enables someone's eyes to open, then they can see the spiritual realm. They can see what is happening. They can see beyond the physical things. So the first time when my grandmother took me to a graveyard to covenant me to the kingdom of darkness, she first began by cutting my hair, my fingernails, and taking my clothes and photos as a point of contact, and she would dedicate them to her altar and dedicate me to her spirits when I was young. And every time, because of what she was doing, I would not sleep in the night. I would get nightmares. I would dream. I would see myself flying in the night. I would see myself in the waters with demons, with the marine spirits. And I would wake up screaming, and my parents would not understand what I was going through. Instead, they thought maybe I was very scared of being left alone in the bedroom. So they would keep me company until when I fall asleep again. And when I would sleep again, I would have a nightmare. Then they would get me from the bed and decide to sleep with me because I could not sleep alone in my bed. And it continued like that until when I was 8. And when I was 8, my grandmother took me to a graveyard. And when she took me to a graveyard, she began to speak to the dead. We have a graveyard in our home where they buried the top sorcerers in our family. So my grandmother took me to that graveyard, and she began to speak to the dead. And she was a herbalist. My dad, all this while, didn't know that the mother was a high-level sorcerer. What my dad thought, he thought that my grandmother was a herbalist, yet she was a high-level sorcerer. So she began to sprinkle herbs on different graves. I thought she was mourning for her people because it had been a while ever since she had gone to that graveyard. And there were about 16 graves. And when she eventually went to her mother's grave, she began to speak to the dead and name the lineage of our ancestors. And afterwards, she slept on her mother's grave, and she made me to sleep.
No, they're saying the live is good on their end.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going in and
There's
out.
a little delay on our end, but we're checking with the viewers just to make sure. that there's no delay on their end. But you can keep on going, Erica.
All right. So she made me to lie on her mother's grave. And what happened when she began to perform rituals is that she opened a portal for us to travel from this world to another world. And for the first time, that is when I got to know that even the earth can open its mouth. I didn't know about that until that time when my grandmother took me to that graveyard. That's when I knew that it is very possible for a person to interact with spirits, because I was hearing voices from the graves, and my grandmother had made me to lie on her mother's grave, and now I was able to travel from this world to another world. My soul left my body, and then I traveled to the world of the dead. And when I traveled there, the first thing I saw where the place I went in was another world, but without life. And there were trees there, but dry. But there were strange trees, strange kind of trees that we don't see here, with eyes, with a mouth, with hands. And I was wondering what those trees were about. And the angel of death told me that everyone comes from a family tree, and these are evil family trees. And everyone is connected to one of them. It is only the people that have chosen to serve another God that are not connected to those trees. And he began to explain to me that every family has its own problems. You can go to a family and see that they have all the money, they have everything that they need, but they are barren. They don't give birth. You go to another family, you see that they are educated, they have everything, but they are prostitutes. You go to another family, you see that they don't get married. And the angel of death now began to explain to me. When he came to me, because when I traveled into that world, I just found myself alone. But I was surrounded by my late ancestors, my grandparents, great-great-grandparents who were high-level sorcerers. So I saw the angel of death. He came with a whirlwind, and he came on a white horse, and he was looking pale, like the skin was so dry, like he had not, like a skin of someone who is dehydrated. Yeah. So I was wondering, I was like, now, how can anyone survive in this place? Because even the air you get on that side, it's hot. It is not this moist wind that we get, but it is hot. And he was now explaining to me about how they bind people in families at a family level, because it's not about just witchcraft where someone just gets jealous and they go to a shrine. That is on a small level of sorcery. But now this is something that binds generations, like generation to generation, and it keeps following unless when someone finds out what is happening and then they say, no, I want to put an end to this, I want to break this generational curse. That is when God gets them out of that evil family tree and then plants that person in the family of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, where the blessings of God that make rich are and add no sorrow are, where God blesses those who bless them and curse those who curse them, where now they are beyond witchcraft. They cannot be bewitched anymore because the promises of God are upon their lives. But without knowledge, then it's very possible for the cycles to repeat themselves. And we continue to converse with the angel of death. I'll be describing to you how he looks like, because now that we are talking about angels, we need to know how the angels in the kingdom of darkness are and the angels in the kingdom of God are, so that we know that we are on a powerful side, and our God is more powerful than Satan, and he created all the angels, so he's above them. Then we moved with the angel of death, and he took me to a valley, and that valley is called a valley of death. And when I saw the valley of death, I saw a lot of blood in the valley of death. There was a river full of blood, and the angel of death told me that those are the people that died prematurely. Either they were aborted or they were involved in an accident If not, they were maybe there was war in their country and they were killed, or things like that, or maybe someone sacrificed them and they died. Their blood still cries out to God for justice. So when the angel of death revealed to me people's blood crying for justice, I would not hear voices coming from the blood, but I would feel that strong smell that speaks, that smell that speaks. I don't know how I can explain it, but you would feel that blood is crying for justice. And then the angel of death told me that he gains his life force from that valley. That is where he goes and he gains his life force. That's why hell demands a lot of blood and a lot of sacrifice. And he dived into that valley and he began to swim and drink some of the blood. He was drinking as he's diving. And when he got out of that, he went in it with his clothes, with whatever he was wearing. And when he got out of it, he was looking very young. He was looking very refreshed. He was looking very powerful. And then the horse that he was on came and it began to lick the other blood that was on his garment, and they became energized. And the angel of death sat on his horse, and he said that he entered into covenants with many celebrities, many superstars, and he's musical, and he would sing. People don't know that the angel of death is musical. They don't know that the angel of death can dance. They don't know that, but the angel of death can dance and he's musical. And some of the moves he would make were like Michael Jackson's moves. In fact, when he got out of the valley of death, he was looking exactly like Michael Jackson. And I'm sorry for mentioning some names, but if we want people to know the truth, we just have to say it the way it is.
Yeah.
But and then he was showing me some of his dance moves, some of his songs, and some of these songs I hear celebrities sing them here, and they are very powerful, they are very popular, they are very famous. And the angel of death told me that before these celebrities release these songs, they travel in the spirit world. They go in the spirit world, like they have rooms in their houses, their altars, and they go before those musicians write a song. Before they go to the studio, they go to their altars and they lock themselves in their altars, and there they perform rituals, and they are able to travel like I had traveled and meet with these other angels, the fallen angels. And then the fallen angels give them the songs. And then when they come with that music, they go to the studios and they record. And after recording, they take the songs to their altars. They have temples for Satanists, for devil worshippers. They take the first, how do you call it? Because you're a musician. That first album. Before,
yeah, the master.
Yeah,
the master copy.
Yeah, they take it to their altar and they dedicate it to those spirits, so that when the songs are being played, the spirits behind the songs are at work. And if that person is in covenant with the angel of death, when that music is being played, then the angel of death is at work. That's why you see in many of their concerts, people die, people collapse, people behave according to the spirit that is behind them. If they are working with the marine spirits, if they are working with immorality, then people will remove their panties and throw at them. People will, begin to lust after them. People will be immoral on those concerts because they are in covenant with those angels. And then the angel of death revealed to me that even in their videos, they go, before they release a video, they go back to the spirit world, and those angels give them the script of how the video should look like. So most of the songs, if the musician is in covenant with the angel of death, you will see graveyards in the video. You will see symbols of death You see them promoting evil spirits, unless if they are also spiritually deep. Like you can't just come up with a voice and go to a studio and think you're going to pull crowds. No, you have to get power connected to your gift. It is either coming from God or coming from the devil. God can also give that power for you to pull crowds. God can give you power. He can give you a platform. He can send his angels to mobilize support for your music, for your concerts. Just like those people that are serving in the kingdom of darkness, it is the angel of trumpet that mobilizes support for them. That's why they have so many views on YouTube. They have so many views on Facebook. They have so many followers on Instagram. They have so many. Someone just puts one post that is even useless and everyone is following after it. Why? The angel of trumpet is in charge for that. And that angel of trumpet is working for the kingdom of darkness. But God has also his angels that can mobilize support. The only reason as to why the Christians are struggling is because they spend little time in the presence of God. And the children of darkness, the people in the kingdom of darkness, spend a lot of time on the altars. You rarely see these celebrities mixing with people. You rarely see them wasting their time. You rarely see them, in the malls. You rarely see them there. In fact, they have people who are in charge of their outfits, their costumes. They have people who are in charge of their makeup. They have people who are is to be on their altars. And when they are seen physically, they come with power and abnormal power. They are able to do things that a normal person cannot do. They are able to enter people's bodies and possess them. They are able to do things that a normal person cannot do. Why? Because most of the time they are on altars. They are dedicating themselves to these spirits. They are covenanting. They are sacrificing. They are performing rituals. They are molesting boys. They are sodomizing people. They are sacrificing. That is what they do in the kingdom of darkness. And there are so many things that actually I've written about some of these things in my new book. You will get it in Erica Part 4, Death, Hell, and Heaven. Because I describe hell in details. Because hell is a body. Just like we are a body of Christ, hell is a body of Satan. And everybody functions differently, but they all need each other. And I describe the ranks in the kingdom of darkness, because you also need to know the ranks in the kingdom of God and how these things operate. Because if you work with knowledge, then you will not go astray. So after the angel of death revealed to me these things, he said that they will be revealing to me more of their secrets, because I was a fourth generation of sorcerers, and all my grandparents had served faithfully in the kingdom of darkness. And every generation is supposed to be greater than the other. The things I'm doing, my children have to do greater things than mine, because their generation carries more energy than the energy of this generation. They are going to be stronger than us. Yes. The reason as to why they are targeting the children for vaccines, the reason as to why they are targeting them is because they want that life force. They know that generation is greater than this generation. So Satan is like, well, this generation may have rebelled against me. They don't want to work with me. But if I get the younger generation, then I will outsmart all of them. So parents, watch out for your children. Don't just take them for those vaccines. Be mindful. Satan is targeting their DNA. The moment he gets to change their DNA, then you have powerful children, but in the kingdom of darkness. Yeah. They cause things to happen, but in the kingdom of darkness, they are magicians. They are very influential. They are full. They are gifted. They have skills. You find a young child able to operate a phone and a computer, and you find an adult struggling You can see an adult, and that adult is struggling to operate a computer. But our kids, the children of this generation, they can operate that computer, and you'll be amazed. A 3-year-old has a Facebook account, and she's handling her Facebook account. They are on YouTube, and they have more followers than mommy and dad. They have more views than mom and dad. They know what their generation wants. So the angel of death began to tell me that even these musicians, they have to pass on that mantle to another generation. If they gave a musician power, he has to look for another generation and empower it. How? By also initiating one of that generation, someone from that generation, and putting that person in power. And he showed me the person that Michael had also initiated, and that person says Michael was his role model, was his mentor. And how do they get initiated? Through homosexuality. And that's why they want homosexuality to be legalized, because that is how they initiate people. You find that nowadays it's very common. Parents have been calling me with children who are 4 years and below, and they're telling me that I found my son wanting to sodomize the siblings. How old is your son? 4 years. How did that boy get that appetite, that mind, that lust for another boy? What they see on TV. What do they see on TV? Walt Disney. And what are they teaching them? They are teaching them homosexuality.
Yes.
They are teaching them witchcraft. They are showing them the marine kingdom. They are teaching them how to, Coco, that movie, Coco, is teaching them how to go to the graveyard. Like my grandmother took me to the graveyard, and they are teaching them how to become stars in the kingdom of darkness. So, after we interacted now, the angel of death gave me an assignment, and my assignment was to cause accidents, to break families, and also to fight ministries. And I began at 8, and I was very powerful. When you get a child with their innocence, and whatever you tell them to do, they will do it innocently. Without doubting. That's why Satan is targeting the children. So when you're casting out devils, let your children be present. Don't say that demons will enter them. They will not enter them. They are learning how to cast out these devils. You also call them and tell them, participate. Tell it to go, rebuke it, and they will rebuke it. And by doing that, you're empowering the next generation. They have to know how to do these things, because if you do not teach them, the devil is ready to teach them how to do his things. So during that time, I began now to cause accidents. I would cause accidents even in the presence of my parents, and they would not know that they had a small witch. They didn't know that. They thought they had a daughter, a lovely daughter. One time, a pastor was praying, and I fell down, manifesting with demons, and my mom got mad at the pastor. He said, my child cannot be possessed. My child has grown up in a Christian home. I raise my children in the ways of God. How can you tell me that my child is possessed? In fact, she almost left the church because it would be difficult. Now, parents, you have to also observe your children. There was I have some children I was taking care of back then, like some years back, and there is this boy. I would see the calling of God upon his life. And one time, this baby he just changed. He was very welcoming. He was very friendly, peaceful. He was taking care of the siblings. He had two little brothers. He was 5 years. And then while we were at the dining table, the boy began to misbehave. He just began to get food and throw at the brothers. And the mother was laughing. The dad was laughing. They thought it was fun. I looked at the boy. I saw something was not wrong with this boy. Something had entered him. People kept on laughing at the dining table. He began to drink water and spit at the brothers, and everyone is laughing. And they're like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And immediately I got this boy and I shook him. I said, out of him in Jesus' name. And the boy was like waking up from deep sleep. And then I asked him, what happened to you? Then he said, at night, something came and entered me. So the parents were just laughing while the devil that had entered their son was entertaining them at the dining. So don't ignore these children. Don't ignore their change in character. Don't ignore when this child is very active and then all of a sudden they go quiet. These children are being molested. They are being sexually abused. These children are going through a lot of things. Unless we pay attention to them, then the enemy is going to have his way in our homes and how he's targeting the next generation. There are things that children know that parents don't know. How will you be able to know things of their generation? Befriend them, mentor them, teach them the ways of God so that when they grow, they will not depart from them. You go to a church, you find in Sunday school, they have toys, they are swinging, they are playing, they are eating sweets, while the parents are looking for God. Then when they turn 18, a parent begins to call, Pastor, pray for me. I want my child to serve God. My child is in club. But you told your child that while I go to pray, you can do other things. You can play with dolls. Now you can go to club. I will pray for you. Everything is okay. Don't worry. You can go do whatever you're doing. Children, get out of church. Go to Sunday school. And they are there. And the gospel that they are giving them is so diluted. And some of these Sunday school teachers are devil worshippers. I saw one of them in a certain church, and pastor was telling the children to go that there are some visitors from overseas, and they are missionaries, and their ministry is with the children. So they have come. And I said, Pastor, I don't care if these people are sponsoring the ministry, but I can look at this missionary with a symbol of one of the satanic gods, the ancient gods on the back. So what is she going to train these children? What has she come to do to the Sunday school children? What kind of a mentor is she when her back is all out and I can see satanic symbols on her back and she's coming to disciple our children? We are sorry, Pastor, let her disciple you if you want, but I'm not allowing this woman to go to Sunday school, because if she goes to Sunday school, they are targeting a generation. And that pastor ignored me. And now this generation that he has raised, the children are in immorality. They are in choir. They are getting pregnant out of wedlock. You're looking at a situation. They are living their life because the pastor was not careful about the people he was allowing to disciple the children in church. So back to the angels, I started now. The first time I got initiated from 8 to 11, I was working with the angel of death. And the angel of death is among the cherubs. Then from 11, when my auntie introduced me to a certain celebrity, I got connected to them. And then later, through that musician, I was taken to her. And when I went to her, I now began to meet with Lucifer, who is another fallen angel. Sure. Satan is he's a cherub, he's a fallen cherub. And I realized that some of the things that we have been seeing on TV, like on TV through movies and through different medias, is a lie, because most of these media houses are owned by Satan. So he will promote they will spread what they want you to know, what they want you to see, and they will want you to live the way they want you to live. And how are they going to program people's lives? Through their platforms, through CNN, through those big platforms. Mm-hmm. They will tell you everyone mask, everyone gloves, everyone chip, everyone vaccine, everyone this and this are dying. That, even if it is not true, some of the things are exaggerated, some stories. For example, there is a very interesting story of a certain terrorist that they used, a so-called terrorist. And they said because they have attacked a certain tower, now we need to go and attack them and fight them. And because they had used their platform to program people, people said, yes, attack. Mm-hmm. People signed. Mm-hmm. And then they went and they attacked innocent people and they stole their oil. They stole they wanted to also get drugs because that nation had drugs, the kind of cocaine that they needed, and the cocaine is very expensive. These big people are dealing with drugs. They are in the black market. And when I talk about the black market, they are selling kidneys, they are selling lungs, they are selling spare parts of the bodies, different body spare parts. So they went to that nation, they got people's spare parts, body parts. When they shoot you before you die, they steal something because that is them. The devil came to steal, kill, and to destroy. Jesus came that we may have life and have life more abundantly. So these are kingdoms that are fighting each other. They are fighting each other all the time. So I now met with Lucifer and Satan, because Lucifer means light bearer. And now he's no longer a light bearer because he's a slave of darkness. He's not a prince of darkness. He was a prince while he was in heaven. He had a throne while he was in heaven.
Jesus.
He wanted to lift his throne above the throne of God, to be exalted above God. He was among the legalists, like let's say the judges in heaven. He was at that level. He was very influential. He was a light bearer. He was transparent in color. You could not see Lucifer if he was passing by because he would decide to travel in wind. He was transparent. And then all the precious stones were built in him. All the precious stones, meaning silver, gold, there were 10 precious stones that were in him. So if Lucifer decided to shine and become gold, he would be gold, and everywhere he is would shine gold. He would be a light bearer. He was so beautiful to look at. If he was to turn silver, he would be very silver. He would be very beautiful to look at because he was an entertainer. He didn't need anyone to do makeup on him. That's why he knows. He didn't need anyone to do makeup on him. God created him with his own makeup. He was beautiful. One of the most beautiful angels that God had ever created. And he was created with all the musical instruments.